I already knew I had a body built for triangles. I'm about 6'4", and well, I am 6'4", and I guess I'm taking this competition at 195 pounds. Usually I walk around 187, fight at 185, and I guess world weight I do 181 or something like that.
You're making me want to go to middleweight again. I've been having this long-standing discussion because I'm going to the Pan Am Games as a white belt. And they only let you go as high as Masters 2. So I'm going to get some younger guys. But I've been joking with our actual real heavyweights that walk around at like 230, 240, 250. And then from there, it's middleweight at our school. I'm 6'2", and I'm convinced myself that I'm going to have to be 170 pounds if I want to compete and be able to survive. Because how is it for you? I mean, you're actually going up, so you're going to have a guy that's a little bit more rock. Is DC rocked and cutting back, or is he about the same weight and going up? Do you know?
No, I believe they said at an earlier competition, they said he weighed like as high as 220 or maybe.
Okay, so he's a big guy cutting.
Yeah.
Well, that means you've got the speed factor as compared to more than likely him cutting a bit of his muscle. Does that factor into your game plan for Friday?
Now, and this dates back to later stories and when I was earlier in my career, but funny enough, I had taken an open weight, absolute tournament when I was a white belt. and so oddly enough, I was a little 185-pound white belt. I ended up winning my division, pretty easily. I actually ended up triangling 5 people in a row. So it was a good day for me then. But then I decided to take the open weight absolute, and I ended up making it all the way to a finals against one of my teammates, actually, who scored third at Worlds, who's I believe Josh Deesh is 365 pounds, and he's a purple belt. So, I made it all the way to the finals against someone of that caliber. And obviously I got frame choked at the end. He's a really big guy. It looked like a little koala bear trying to push over a tree. But so it didn't work out for me at the end. But on my way up, I actually ended up submitting a purple belt who was about 240 pounds. So even so, I'm used to grappling with much bigger people. I've done it all my career. Since I'm a very tall person, I'm framed out wide. I've always had the potential to fight people much larger than my size.
I think it's always going to be that way for the light heavyweights. I think if you're in that 170 to 200 range, you're either going to get guys that are super fast below you, or you're going to get big ugly beasts above you. And I think it trains you uniquely because of it. Oh, yeah.
Trust me, those heavyweights are no joke. They never are.
No, they never are. Certainly mine aren't, and I always laugh about it. I'll say it until I've almost threatened to get lipo so I don't have to deal with them. They go, "You're not serious, are you?" I said, "Well, you'll see if I take 2 months off." So how do the rules for fight to win work? Is it typical, is it a 5-minute round, or is it multiple rounds? Is it going to use the IBJJ scoring point systems? How does a fight to win work?
Now, from rule sets, and obviously I read rules online and things like that, but from videos I've seen, I don't believe they try and make it as close to, it's almost a blend between IBJJF and mixed martial arts rules. Like if you take a no-gi match, slams, inside heel hooks are actually legal. Reaping is legal, opposed to where you see an IBJJF tournament, the second they see your foot cross over someone's hip and internal rotation of the knee, you're disqualified.
Right.
So it does take on many MMA rules, but it also does give that IBJJF feel, I believe, with the resets and, especially in gi. They said no heel hooks are allowed in gi, so I believe that keeps it traditional as the IBJJF and the genetic, or I guess, just a genuine gi style that's been implemented, where heel hooks have never really been legal in the gi because there's that extra tension in the fabric which causes you to tear your knee. And also, I believe in the rule set they said slams are not legal in the gi. So I believe they really are trying to show the art, because there's so much beauty that comes with rolling in the gi. So many different sweeps. And obviously I play guards like Spider Guard with no gi or gi,
Right.
I found ways to make them work both. But even in the gi, I just feel like there's more I can create. Obviously I can't hit a lapel sweep no gi,
No, I agree. So That brings up a great point. You talk about the art of it, and it is a martial art, just like any of the others. Boxing, all of them are. But gi is uniquely specific. I know that you roll both no-gi and gi. What do you prefer these days?
Now the older I get in the sport, because I can't say the older I get, I'm only 26, so I'm still a young buck. Well, a lot of these guys have been doing jiu-jitsu longer than I've been alive. But even so, I used to really love the gi early on because I had a teacher who was that way. He taught me to be wise, taught me to be patient. I just found a lot of patience and true strategy in the gi. But the faster my mind is able to process, now I've learned, no-gi is all the same. And once it became the same for me, I actually did develop more of a love for no-gi. But at the same time, I still do love the gi. I always train in the gi. I train in the gi about 4 to 5 times a week. So you'll never find me out of the gi. I don't think I could ever lose the passion for gi jiu-jitsu and say I'm just one or the other. But I do have a love for and deep respect for no-gi. I used to always have people tell me that the gi was something you couldn't use on the street, but I've never seen a man running around in leggings, in a tight shirt where, you couldn't grab him up a little bit, especially in the wintertime now. People usually have pants and jackets on.
Yeah.
If that's not the gi walking around on the street, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I've looked at people in jackets recently thinking, so I had just learned a couple of new collar chokes, and I was thinking, yeah, I could certainly do it. I don't even see what the problem would be. I could do it standing right in front of them, and they wouldn't know it hit them. So from a self-defense perspective, yeah, I completely agree with that. There's an ideology online. I guess there is a grappling community, and the question always comes down to, that Eddie Bravo, do we train from day one out of a gi, or the traditional sort of the Gracie line, which is what we're talking about here, where it starts in a gi and the gi makes you better out of the gi. You've been in it long enough now. Are you firmly in the gotta be in the gi to be better out of the gi?
Yes, 100%.
Good. And you said you also compete in MMA, so please tell me about your experience now adding striking and elbow strikes into the mix. How does that change the dynamics of your grappling?
Okay, now here's what I argue with people back and forth all day, and there's no way to ever get to the bottom of an argument. Obviously, rarely do you have an argument with someone where they just say, "Oh, I completely changed my view and forgot everything I came to this argument with." But everyone tells me the closed guard is useless in MMA. It doesn't work. But, I've hit a closed guard triangle and submitted someone in under 40 seconds in a cage, So, I'm a firm believer of the closed guard. I still believe it has value in MMA. If you look at the nature of jiu-jitsu, it's about the creation and elimination of space. If you hold somebody close to you and you're able to dictate the space and everything like that, there's no way the person can actually hit you. You're supposed to be controlling people in these positions where strikes won't land. And I believe it's people from the bottom thinking that they should be landing strikes and abandoning the technique they use. And that, to me, is a fallacy within a lot of martial arts, where you go up against somebody who's good and you think you have to abandon a part of your game. That's why you see such one-sided matches. It makes people do almost the incorrect thing. And it's like, why would you do something less correct, because you have a fear of something happening? To me, I would do something more correct, No,
that's completely logical. And that's the age-old, you take it back to the age-old discussion, and I was having this with a boxing guy. And the discussion was, well, if we were in a bathroom, do you really think it would wind up in the ground and you wrapping up somebody? I said, well, statistically, probably, but I probably hit somebody first. He goes, let me help you out. You're going to get kicked in the back of the head by one of his buddies if you're choking out my friend on the floor. I said, yeah, I kind of get that too. So where does it end? Do you have to strike as well if you're going to be that completely well-rounded?
Yes. Like you said, to be well-rounded is everything. And if you're entering I believe, one of the most well-rounded sports, you can have football players who were former baseball players, and you can have football players who were former wrestlers and things like that. But to look at the true essence of mixed martial arts, you're looking at taking about 12 to 15 different martial arts, and obviously past that. where you combine those all and you're throwing people in, just into an arena, and you can get a draw of anything. So I believe it's well-rounded. You look at a guy like Conor McGregor, and I know everyone always uses his name and says so many things about him negatively, but to look at a positive, he did actually take on the student of the game mentality. He never stopped going to class. He was a boxer who realized, hey, I need to learn wrestling, who realized, hey, these guys are high-level jiu-jitsu athletes, who came back and realized he needed to learn jiu-jitsu, who was taking karate classes, taekwondo classes, and just kept learning. That's how you reach the top, is to be an ever-evolving student. So, I do really find a lot of credence in that, just to keep going to class. Because some guys get to a certain point, and even, like you said, you're on the beginning part of your journey, but still later on, you want to learn things, and not even just for your own ability, but let's say there's somebody who comes to you and you're put in a coaching position later, you're always going to want to be able to help them out, even if a technique's not necessarily useful to you. You realize not everyone's built like you, not everyone's built like me, and not everyone's built like the person you're teaching. So, that just goes back to basic information saying all knowledge is good knowledge, but I really just, I really keep pushing that to say, hey, keep going to class, keep learning things, because you never want to be selfish in your technique. You always want to have something to give to someone. And those people, I believe, are the best athletes and the best teachers.
I agree. And I'm lucky. I have amazing teachers who are amazing competitors. I have an amazing professor who is a kind-hearted human being. And that's what I've noticed. I don't think I've encountered anybody in a gi who's just a complete douchebag at the end of the day. I just, to use the term correctly, I mean, I've seen a little bit in boxing, I've seen it a little bit in MMA, but by and large, our community, you picked it for the right reasons. It is an extraordinarily friendly community.
You'll find many guys who train in the gi. George is literally giving me the shirt off his back some days. He says, oh, this is a nice shirt. He was like, would you like to wear it, Mr. Parker? And so you are 100% right with that. Some guys in the gi are some of the best people I've ever met, and they really are family to me now.
Yeah, it is a great example. So where did you start? Tell me, so if somebody's listening to this, and I assume that the internet community, I know that fighters are going to listen to this, and that's part of my client base, as they say, for this particular show. But how do I convince the average person, hey, BJJ is the way to go? It is the most well-rounded exercising you're going to do. It is. Personally, I feel that if somebody asked me, what should my kids do? And I've taken Hapkido, I've taken a little bit of Taekwondo. I would tell them now, knowing what I know, I don't know how you would avoid either traditional boxing or Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Those would be my only two choices at this point for a child. The rest of them, how do I say this without sounding crappy to people who take those other disciplines? They don't seem to work very well.
No, you're 100% correct. And I even hate to say it. Well, I guess I can lump Muay Thai in there as well.
Muay Thai is kind of, but that would be under the boxing category. That's a very real, practical, grab 'em. I would say Krav Maga is very real for that reason. It's very hands-on, very strike-specific. But when you're talking Hapkido or Taekwondo
I think
or
Shotokan, with daily sparring, that's the martial art to get into. If you have martial arts with daily sparring where you can realistically apply and gauge your technique against other athletes, that's something real to me. If you're just doing forms and you're not developing any timing as well, timing is something that's incredibly inclusive in all those sports that you just mentioned, boxing, Muay Thai, and jiu-jitsu, and wrestling as well. So
that's real time. And I actually read it in somebody's article once, and they brought up a great point. There is no other sport that goes at full speed where simply a simple tap will stop what's happening to you. And you're actually putting that faith into a partner. And trust me, I've had a few that have yanked and cranked, and they don't do it on purpose. But certainly it can get very real very fast, even in the gym itself. How hard do you train? I mean, if you put a percentage level on your evening roll, what are you normally rolling at?